Apple, how could you do such a thing for us? Are you guys still wearing your hat? Take your hat off right now and salute this hero that served the market for so long as we today remember the iMac Pro. Let's begin. So the iMac Pro has not been officially discontinued, but it's pretty much confirmed to be happening now because on the iMac Pro order page, it no longer lets you configure anything. You can only buy the base model for $5,000, which honestly, I doubt many people are going to do these days anyway because it's still rocking Intel, and we know this Apple Silicon transition meant the killing off of old Intel models, but now they are listing while supplies last underneath the iMac Pro option, which means that they're basically going to sell out the rest of the iMac Pros they have, and then it's going to be gone, which means the iMac Pro, like many people were expecting, is basically a stopgap that was meant to hold over the Pros until the Intel Mac Pro came out, but only for Apple Silicon to come out right around the corner and kind of make the cheese grater Mac Pro somewhat pointless. It's the end of an era, and I'm using an iMac Pro to record and edit this video right now. I still use mine every single day. It was the 8-core variant, which they don't even sell that one anymore, and I still think this is the greatest iMac to ever come out. Not just because of the 5K display, but also we finally got a 1080p webcam on an iMac with this machine. It still, to this day, is the only way to get 4 USB-C ports on an iMac, which none of the new iMacs support, although the newer Intel processors they put in the 27-inch 5K iMacs now are kind of better anyway, so it's not like they are axing off a huge demographic. If you're in the market for an iMac, you're probably better off speccing out one of the 5K ones anyway, but even those only have 2 USB-C ports, which in my opinion is a bit of a bummer, and I'm hoping that the Apple Silicon iMacs that are rumored to come out late this year can actually fill that void that the iMac Pro was filling, because M1X chip is just going to be so incredibly fast, nothing will be able to touch it, including the 10-core iMac Pro or even the 18-core iMac Pro, which funny enough, they still make mentions to on the iMac Pro webpage, even though it's no longer available. So if you really wanted an iMac Pro and you wanted to buy it directly from Apple, supplies are not probably going to be around much longer unless maybe just no one buys this thing. Honestly, I think the M1 Mac Mini would be a much better deal, and performance-wise probably be on par, not quite as fast, but pretty close to how the iMac Pro actually performed. And to be completely honest with you guys, I'm very glad I bought the iMac Pro when I did, because some people were saying to wait around for the cheese grater Mac Pro, but it would have been a very long wait, because I initially took delivery of my iMac Pro at the very end of 2017, and first deliveries of the Mac Pro weren't until end of 2019. So that would have been 2 years of waiting, a little bit too long for what I needed a computer to be able to handle for all of my content production, and it has aged very gracefully. It's still doing all my live streams, my exporting, and even runs Chrome surprisingly well. Not a lot of computers can do that very well these days, so we have to count the little things. And now, later this year, my iMac Pro will be turning 4 years old, and I'm happy to say it has aged very gracefully. The speaker system on it is incredible. I still think it's a much better speaker system than the traditional 5K iMacs, and also the cooling system is a lot more quiet for the most part. There's sometimes you can hear the fans when you're doing high intensive stuff, but compared to the 5K iMac, the iMac Pro is like dead silent. Sometimes you can't even hear the fans working, whereas the 5K iMac, as soon as you open Safari or Messages, that thing starts to sound like a 747 taking off, which is why I'm gonna miss the iMac Pro, the fact that they had such a better cooling architecture here, although that entire cooling system inside probably going to become somewhat pointless once Apple Silicon comes around and doesn't overheat as much. So it's the end of an era. I'm very sad to see it go, but at the same time, it makes sense. Also, I'm very curious to find out if they're going to replace the iMac Pro with an Apple Silicon variant with the updated design. Personally, I would still be kind of cool if they decided to make a lower cost iMac with the redesign, thin bezels, Apple Silicon inside and everything, and that's like sub $5,000. But for those people who want to go all out crazy with their all-in-one, the iMac Pro could be like still Apple Silicon, still the updated design and everything, but now it's rocking a mini LED display, or same display as the Pro Display XDR, so you have the extreme dynamic range, but still have the thin bezels and the extreme performance for those who, I don't know, want to spend $10,000 on an all-in-one, except this one comes with a stand. That's the primary difference. No Pro stand sold separately here. What do you guys think of the iMac Pro on its way out and Apple doing a while supplies last thing, which honestly I don't see them do very often, but it's going to be sad to not see that option on the website anymore. I still think it's the greatest iMac ever until the Apple Silicon one launches, but I appreciate you all watching. This is your Apple Sheep here. See you guys in the next one.